So thank you everyone for joining us today. Obviously, we're talking about Microsoft Copilot and just a few housekeeping things before we start. This meeting is recorded, just be aware of that. And if you do have any questions throughout the webinar, there is a Q&A section up the top. You can click on that button, just drop your questions in there. We'll probably get to them at the end. So just feel free to drop them in. We'll be monitoring that throughout the webinar. And that's really it, I think. So just a quick recap of the agenda for today. We'll be introducing Microsoft Copilot, what it is, what it does, and then we'll jump into some of the real world applications with a few use cases and some live product demonstration. Then we'll cover off the cost and the licensing associated with Copilot, and then a bit of discussion just around, the return on investment for businesses looking to invest in the product. And then at the end, we'll jump into a Q&A session for those of you who have got questions. So pretty simple. All right, and so our presenter for today, Kirsty McGrath, she's on the call. You can probably see her. Just a little bit of an introduction to Kirsty. Kirsty's a Microsoft MVP, and for those who don't know what that is, that's essentially a recognition award that's given by Microsoft to people who are experts in certain areas of the Microsoft technologies, and they're recognized for their contributions to the community as well as their expertise in the particular product that they're acknowledged for. It's quite a sought after thing, and I don't know exactly how much work goes into achieving that, Kirsty. I imagine there's a lot. They're not handed out easily, so it is quite an accolade. And in particular, Kirsty's area of expertise is around Microsoft 365 adoption. So that's across the whole Microsoft 365 platform, and I think Copilot falls under that now as well. Is that right, Kirsty?
Correct.
Good. So in addition to your community service around being an MVP, you've got your own consulting business, On Point Solutions, and you focus on training and adoption services for mostly corporate entities, both small businesses, medium and enterprises, I believe.
Correct.
So if you are interested, you can of course reach out to Kirsty to get further services from them around adoption. And then also, I believe you're the organizer of the Microsoft 365 adoption user group, which that runs every month, and it's an online meetup, and that really tackles, I guess, topics related to adoption of Microsoft 365. So which is also something that if you're interested in, you can look that up. I've attended a few over the years, and they are quite a good way to learn more about the products and the adoption side of things. So that's more or less it. Although there is one other thing which I almost forgot to mention. Kirsty's also the creator of the Microsoft 365 wheel, which you can see in the background there.
The Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, that's right. That's something that I tend to pull out a lot when I'm talking to customers about 365 adoption. So that's been quite a valuable tool, and I'm sure there's some people on the call that recognize that. So if you're one of those people, Kirsty is the person responsible for that. So with that, I think I'll hand it over to you, Kirsty, for today's presentation, and just thank you for taking the time and being here today. On behalf of everyone, I think we're really appreciative of you doing this.
Thank you. Always interested to hear an introduction coming from someone else, and perceptions of us on any given day. Thank you all for coming along. Now, hot topic. And we're seeing it everywhere. Feel free to raise your hands going, I'm feeling a little sick of it by this point, but I'm still really interested. I do get it. And I'm getting a ton of questions. And some of those is, it's going to take my job. It's like, well, no, but if someone else really knows how to, yeah, they could take your job, as Scott Galloway says, because we are in we're in an environment where things are moving and changing so quickly. We're looking at that evergreen environment now. So getting ourselves and getting started. We are here at the Copilot webinar. If you would like a copy of my presentation, I have the bit.ly link here, and there's also the QR code. So feel free to whip your phone out. And if you do miss it, that's okay. I will bring it up at the very end again for you to be able to get to. So it's just a bit.ly, it's just On Point Copilot webinar. And we'll get underway. I'd just like to thank Colin Phillips. He's another MVP alumni. I've spent quite a bit of time with him over the last month or two. He's given me lots of technical help and support and some input in terms of the PowerPoint here and there. Okay. I'd just like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting from today, and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islanders peoples who has joined us today. Okay. I just ask that you please stay on mute throughout the session, and if you have any questions, so it's not in chat, it's actually over in Q&A. I do really appreciate all interaction, feedback, information, questions that you've got. So at any point, just drop them into Q&A. If it's a quick and easy one, I can probably answer along the way. If not, we will have some time at the end. I do ask that anything that you do put into Q&A, we have a bit of a respect, tolerance and understanding of others. We've got lots of differing thoughts around AI taking over the world. We're in a Terminator environment now, not quite. But this is, and I will remind you, it is just the starting point of the learning journey, especially around AI. It's quite a deep topic. So yes, I am a Microsoft MVP. We are awarded for technical excellence in the community, so you'll find me in forums. As stated, I run the adoption user groups for Australia. So you'll be able to find those through Meetup. I've got a QR link coming up and at the end as well to be able to help you. I am a ProSci certified change manager. I'm also a certified online learning facilitator with the Learning and Performance Institute. That is so that I can run adoption programs. So from end to end, I have an analysis background. I was an analyst. I have got change management. I have a long history of being a trainer to a super user level across this technology, right through to I'm an ex-executive assistant. So comms, you name it. We drove into the comms like you wouldn't believe and building out decks, for example. So all the way from one end through to the other is what makes me then an adoption consultant. Now, moving forward from here, next month, so on the 5th, so the user group is on the first Tuesday of every month. You can find it on Meetup. I'm really looking forward to having Adam Gurn on. He's coming in. He's the senior Copilot customer success, and he was heavily engaged on the early access program around Copilot. He's going to be going through some of the lessons learned in taking organizations through all that beta programming as part of the early access on Copilot. So that's coming up on the 5th at 12 o'clock. You can register for that now. Went live last night. Now, I have done a lot of programs from really small, where I've literally sat down with Fairy Sparkle. I don't know if you know Fairy Sparkle. She's out there looking after the hospital community and children, from one person all the way through to 120,000. So it depends on the size, but I have done well over 160 programs. I stopped counting about 5 years ago. I've trained over 180,000 people. So you get to hear a lot in that journey. And the great part about being on, and running the adoption user group, which has been going for 8 years now, is that all the different scenarios and use cases around any technology that comes along. So I do particularly love having those sort of differing opinions, because it opens up my world in terms of learning. Now, we've already kind of touched on the agenda. Let's get forward. Okay. Now, I'm going to come at this, I suppose, just that little bit differently. You might have gone out, you might see technical, you might see a lot around security and compliance and all sorts of stuff and governance and, what is it from a technical standpoint in AI? I'm not coming at it from that perspective. I'm actually coming at it more from that end user journey and helping you around, what does it actually look like for your organization to go on this journey? So when I start to talk about adoption, adoption is inclusive of all those things: the comms, the training, the change. It's getting out there, it's excitement, it's knowledge, it's analytics, it's getting those insights, it's all those components. But fundamentally, your user really needs to be comfortable with the change, and they really need to know how is it going to affect their role. So you say you're bringing in AI Copilot, we're kicking it off, and you might get a little bit of fear and panic, or they're not going to push that button. It's like I see it so often. New button pops up, ignore. Completely ignore, outside their scope, got to get my job done, so off they go. And you're going to be potentially paying for a license. Some will, some won't. Let's have a look at it. So in the adoption curve, a lot of people have seen this adoption curve. It's not often anything new for people. We've got those that are innovators, which, over a year ago, back in November, when ChatGPT came in as part of that open AI, we had those out there. Well, this is cool, playing around with it, right back when. Compared to Copilot coming out kind of from November and all those, those early program that came in on Microsoft, they're all part of that innovator and early adopters piece. Then we go right through the laggards. Sometimes we don't get involved with the laggards because we let the rest of the organization drag them on the journey. So when we look at that total percentage of adoption, and we start to think about what we do, we've got to try and win over ultimately all of those types. Now, I have often started sometimes with the hardcore laggard, because if I can get one of those over the line and they get really excited, boy, do they speed up the process. So sometimes leaving them alone may not necessarily if they're an influencer. Okay, so let's think about it. So if you want to try and get that market share up, we need to look at the different types of people across our business. Now, the pace of adoption, it's not small anymore. It's like a rocket. You think just in the last, even 20 years and how technology has changed. In my lifetime, I started from the big clunker typewriter that I had 3, carbon, literally the paper that you shoved in there. And then I was very excited when the liquid paper came in and you could put it into the typewriter. I'm showing my age, I'm a grandma. But just in that short period of time, let alone our own parents or grandparents, what have we seen? It is accelerating at a rate that is really difficult to keep up with. So we need to help our users in this journey, because ultimately, when it comes to digital technology and our literacy, we have a problem. Because adaptability isn't as great as that curve around digital technology. So we need to start to bridge that gap, especially within a business. And Microsoft 365 is evergreen. It's constantly moving, it's constantly changing, and new products are coming in all the time. So do you have a learning organization? What does that look like? So we're starting to bring in something like Copilot. And we look about it and, there is a fundamental change that needs to happen, and it's around behavior. It's not necessarily about the technology. There's so much going on that, what does it look like? And we fundamentally need to change some of the ways that we're actually working to draw on this technology. So we need to think about our people in this journey. So when I talk adoption success, so if we want to get to habitual usage, one, we've got to know why we want to even use this in the first place. Have you even done any use cases, scenarios, looked at the personas? Who are the people out there? Why? What are the benefits? Then start on those aha moments, doing a bit of training. They go, that's really cool. I love it. But they didn't really know how to apply it to their own job. So therefore, there was really nothing in it for them. So they may not go on the journey. So you got to tie in, well, what's in it for them around some of the scenarios, and then start reinforcing to truly get to adoption success. Ongoing training. Have you tried? This is new. Buddying up. You might have a buddy program. Champs out there. What is your reinforcement? So if I want to get to habitual usage, they're going to continue to use this technology. So if you purchase it, it's not enough for them to use once and then walk away because maybe they came up against something that they're not familiar with. Okay, so then what is it? Where to find it? Let's dive into the Copilot side of things now. There's lots on adoption. I could talk days, hours just on that topic. I shortened it right down for you. Hey, you're lucky. Okay, so when we start to talk about any sort of a program. Now, this is a Microsoft, it's all part of Copilot. We've got to get the organization ready. We've got a whole adoption program, and we need to be able to measure it as well. So I'm going to talk about some of these core components. So the first one, let's look at some of the readiness. One, do they even know what Microsoft 365 is? More often than not, they think it's Office, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, Outlook. hey, that's fine for Copilot because it kind of plugs into it. But you might want to help them on the journey to the cloud. They're often not using even the technology that's there. In fact, inside Office alone, most users only use around about 10% of the functionality just in Office, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, Outlook. So are they going to be curious enough to press that button? You might need to take them on a bit of a journey here. So now we're going to add Copilot into some of this tech. Well, where did it kind of start from? You look at it, going back. So OpenAI launched ChatGPT. I don't know if you know, but Microsoft owns OpenAI. So once it went out there, and back in March when they started to do things like unveiling it, and they were talking about it back in March last year, there was a lot of, oh, this is going to take ages for it to come out. And there was a lot of, I reckon, about 6 months. Now, it took about 8 months to really kind of hit and roll out. Microsoft are pushing information out and pushing technology out fast because what they would prefer to do is get it out there and do those iterative changes along the way, get the feedback. You think about agile, they're doing really agile around sort of the tech and push it out there. So not all of it is fixed and embedded and it's changing fast. So you may not have that feature today and all of a sudden this afternoon it's there. So keep an eye out because something that's not there now will be there soon. So here we go. Bang, we're out and it's a big topic. Now, first off, we kind of saw it very much over the chat side of things. And there is licensing that can actually be done as part of this particular SKU. Now, if you've got managed services with Axiom, then it's Copilot's actually covered. So you don't have to sort of worry about that at this point, but you might be external or maybe you're not part of Axiom. Then you might want to look at, what does the services actually give you when you start to purchase a license? So let's go in. Copilot. Now it's a pretty picture. For me, I get it. It's a little technical. Sometimes I need to put my hair in a ponytail and blonde and catch it on the way through because I live in the end user space. So if someone, and I will regularly say to someone, I go, I want you to treat me like I'm a first grader, or a third grader, or a fifth grader, as Microsoft like to say, or explain it to me like you're talking to my great grandmother, because that's where I live. I live in the, click the left, your other left. Clicking the right. Okay. So when I've got to start articulating this, and I talk about the way that Copilot works, it's, we have our Microsoft apps. Now they're very familiar with PowerPoint, Word, Excel. It's embedding into that. Now, if you're a new starter and you don't really have any kind of content and you haven't really built any content yet, then you might find that the information that's actually out there may not be a lot for you to pull from, because what Copilot does is it goes out and as part of the Microsoft graph, it says, I'm going to put things in context. I can pull from all of your content, not just yours, but it can actually look at organizational content. So this is where sometimes security and compliance can come into play. Okay, what is it pulling from? It then also goes out to the large language model to kind of go, you put in a prompt and it goes out and then it comes back and then it gives you a result in your application. That's just in its really kind of basic raw. But if you're a new starter, you might not have much. But if you've been around for the last 5 years, tons. What if you've been there 20 years? It could effectively pull information that's from 20 years ago. You go, give me the sales figures. And just go, well, which sales figures? You've been doing them for 20 years. So make sure in your prompt, you tell it exactly what it's looking for and give it a document to go to. Examples. So now where is Copilot? Look, it's right across. We're really focusing on kind of more that modern work side of things. I will just temporarily touch on something like the snipping tool, for example, because where we ask in a prompt can actually make a difference as to the result that you get and what it returns. So let's go in and look at it. So for the main core things around Microsoft 365, you're really going to be doing across the Office suite, as well as Teams, Loop, Whiteboard. You've got it over in, you go into Edge and you've got it and it's driving through Windows. So if you're looking for it, this is the icon that you're going to be looking for wherever you go. So this is your Copilot icon. Now I'm going to focus on a couple of core ones through here as demo examples, keeping it simple. So understanding that business case, should you buy it? So say you don't have it, then ultimately, really, it's your choice. It's generally not included in your base licenses around Microsoft 365. So you have to invest in it if you need to, unless you're under a managed service and it's covered. Now, some of the features that we've actually got in Copilot, you can do through Bing Chat or GPT. You might find it's enough. Maybe you're taking those words from your email and you're copying and pasting it into Bing Chat and asking for it to clean it up. You could take information over to it if you wanted to, but it's not embedding in context inside of wherever you are, so you're not leaving PowerPoint or Word or whatever the case may be, okay? So you want to have it embedded. Now, should you buy it for all? Personally, I say yes, with a caveat, because you may not need it for every employee. If you've done some persona mapping, so say, for example, you've got I've worked with a lot of councils and they've got it's not PC to say lollipop ladies and men anymore, but you get it. Like they're not going to be as interested in having a license or get the benefits out of it. So if they're not using Outlook or PowerPoint or Word or Excel or any one of these applications or Teams no, you probably won't necessarily need it for all of your employees. So do a bit of persona mapping and those case studies. So then the cost. Is there any benefit? Now I can guarantee that you will save 5 minutes a day easily if they're using it. Even if it's not on that day, maybe they only use it once or twice a week, but it's just saved them an hour's worth of work. You've got more than 5 minutes a day, I can tell you. So in the costing, if you've got one employee, I'm just doing it on one. The average income in Australia, based on the census, is $39.50 an hour. Now, a lot of us will earn a lot more than that an hour or a lot less, so you can, judge it based on that. In your organisation, you can go to HR and go, what's the average, so you can work it out yourself if you've got to do a business case. So if I'm going to have 5 minutes, what's the cost? 252 working days. Now you could minus 20 days for leave or a holiday or any kind of leave. You could take off 20, 30 days if you wanted to, but more often than not, we're working more than our 252 working days. So many people aren't taking their leave. Take your leave, guys. Okay, so get out there and the cost. So I'm looking at one individual and I've saved you $829 for the year. And I've got my Copilot license. Now it's US $30. So it's $45.80 then a month. So we look at the cost. So I've now got just in productivity gain. And a lot of people don't measure productivity inside a business. I would highly recommend that you do as part of adoption on any particular technology. It could even just be, I've put that document into a collaboration space so we can co-collaborate in real time instead of emailing it around. That can sometimes save you a day or fortnight just on collaborating in a document. That is money because time is money. Pain is money. So if I've simplified something for you, then you're going to get some benefit. So that's just for one employee for 5 minutes based on the average. How many employees have you got? Get your calculator out. You got 200, 500, 1,000, 20,000. How much have you saved on 5 minutes a day? Work it out. So then I get, is it going to replace the people, take their jobs? We kind of talked about it a little at the very beginning. What it does is actually helps people around ideas. It's not there to replace them. It's just sort of to supercharge some idea. And I'm seeing it all the time where I'm kind of going, I don't know quite how I can word that. And I'm sitting there and mulling and I'm writing out a paragraph and I'm kind of adjusting it and repeating it and adjusting it. And maybe I'm not great even at writing formal emails. I'm very casual. Or maybe I'm very formal, and I know that I'm very formal after being an EA. Sometimes I want to go, can you make this a little bit more casual? But don't make it this. Or this is a bit abrupt. You can get some coaching and it will help you. Now, trying to get the job done. We're so caught, we're 3 times more collaborating on projects, for example, and sometimes it's hard to be innovative when we're in a hybrid. So there's a lot of things that come into play when we're working, but often we've got a real struggle with getting our work job. There was the trend index that came out last year. We're spending so much time searching for information. They say they spend 62% is spending too much time, but we're spending about 29% of our time. That is over a day a week on searching. I'm going to show you something on the search in Copilot that will help. So we want to look at the ways that we can innovate and break through and pull information. Now, most people would be very happy to delegate to AI to lessen the workload. So if we could reduce some of the administrative tasks, then training and helping them on how to exactly do that, because a lot of people don't know how to actually do that, or what are the benefits to typing something into Copilot. Okay, so these are where education comes in. So if we can start to build those skills, it will make a real difference. So let's go and have a look now at some of those real world kind of scenarios. Where are your employees? Where do they actually need help? Usually around meetings. They find it difficult to brainstorm, or where could they start? Or maybe you missed out on some information in the meeting, for example. You need a summary. We spend so much time searching, even in email. Can you just summarize that email thread for me? Having uninterrupted time to be able to focus, because more often than not, when we get taken away, we get a pop-up, we get taken away, we go doing that email, for example. It takes us approximately 21 minutes to get our brain back in and focus. So trying to do that reset or feel inspired, we want to look at the different ways. So let's say you turn on Copilot. Your staff are going to get a welcome email. So first and foremost, they're going to get the prompts coming up to help them. Those prompts will give them an idea of getting started, but you need to help them on that journey. And it needs to be in context for their everyday work, because this is sort of generic information at this point. It's a good starting point. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go push the button. So if we go in and we start to look at all the day-to-day type stuff, if we want to be our task making, make it more efficient, get ourselves organized. We've got things like it's actually quite enjoyable. It's a bit of fun. Sometimes it's really interesting what it flows back. When you're playing around, for me, I'm very curious. If you've got a learning organization, they're often a curious organization. But what I particularly like is some of the personal safety that comes around the productivity piece. I'll touch on that in a minute. Things like, we can get it to look at task automation, reminders, and note taking. We've got language assistance. As I've said, maybe you're very formal or you're not great with grammar, can clean it up for you. We've got curation of content. Give me some ideas around what I can do. I want to brainstorm. What are the top 10 things that are great about Copilot? You could do some brainstorming on any topic, because it can go both within the business. If it's pulling stuff on the business, maybe it's what are the business goals? Give me some, brainstorming ideas around the business goals. Here's the, 200-page, board paper that's been put out for the year. What could we do or focus on? So lots of things. But the personal safety is one that I do love and touch on, because often we've got lots of neurodiverse within our business, and you might not be particularly efficient, or, are you good at listening, but you're not good at typing? Are you good at reading, but you're not good at listening? So you go into a meeting, doing that summary of the meeting or capturing the notes. Maybe you're so focused on listening that you find it very difficult to note take. So when it comes to that personal safety, it then goes, I can get those for me, and I can focus on my core skill set, which is actually, listening. Sometimes for the neurodiverse, it may not be that. So we're finding that it actually really helps and support the neurodiverse in their day-to-day work. So prompts. Now, more often than not, and this is where it can come down to some of the challenges for our end users. We're very used to doing commands, but we're not often used to doing conversational prompts. More often than not, and I see it all the time, it's like go onto Bing or wherever, because this is where it kind of started from, and ask it to give you something. So instead they go Tom Cruise, dinner, me now, and they're putting in, words that are just short, sharp to try and get what they want, but they don't understand how to do it as a bit of a paragraph, conversational. Putting in the right prompts will really define what you get back when it comes to Copilot. So first things first, what do we need to do as prompting? One, you've got to have a goal in mind. So what do you want? I want a paragraph, a short paragraph, a long paragraph. Do I want bullet points? Do I want, what is your goal as that kind of an output? Then in context, So why do you need it? Who's involved in it? I'm having a meeting with my manager. It's a conference with all of my clients. What is it? So you've got to put the why. It's in context. You might even go based on this source. So I want to do 5 bullet points. I'm having a meeting with my manager and I want to do it based on my performance review. Here's the document, put a link into it. So go and have a look at it, for example. And you want it to meet a particular expectation. So how is it going to give it back to you? I want it to be informal, the way that it actually writes it. Okay. I want it to be really long and short, or, the casual, the formal language, the funny. I've had it where I've said, can you put it? I'm a baker. If anyone has spent any time with me, I like to do cake decorating. I've got it in and have a lot of fun. So I've been doing up things like put it in baking terminology. It's quite funny, some of the stuff that it actually comes out with. Pretty cool. So what is those prompts? What do they look like? So teaching people to do good prompts is half the battle. So how can you talk to Copilot? Now, it depends on where you are. It's going to be different things because we do have different ways of working depending on the technology that you're in. Someone that is in finance is probably going to be very heavy over in Excel, and maybe they never do a Word document, for example. So you'll need to come up with some scenarios for those type of personas that's going to be relevant for a particular team. So you might come up with a few different things and put them in context for the business wherever you can. Okay. So it depends on what you want. We're going to do some of these. Now, where are you putting your prompt is another piece that can make a difference. So I was over and I was playing around and doing a bit of a trial. And I was in Word and I went, how do I take a screenshot? Just to give it a bit of an example. Now, what I did, it came up with print screen. I kind of went, well, that's not what I want. Now, personally, I know what I want, but the average user may not. And if you're just doing take a screenshot, it won't necessarily give you what you want. But what I do love about the prompt is if it's not something that Copilot can do for you, then it will give you the commands. Now, remember I said average user uses around about 10% of the technology. So therefore, there's a lot across Office that they may not know how to do, but they can ask the question at least, and it will give you an explanation in real time. So now what we've got is just-in-time learning. So helping people to use just-in-time learning is really important. Now, I kind of went, instead of how do I take a screenshot, I then extended it and went, how do I take a screenshot of a specific area on my screen? It changed the nature of what I got back as a prompt. So now it's actually given me the snipping tool keyboard shortcut. Great, love it. But I went over and went, okay, let's have a look at it. So this is the Windows prompt. So down the bottom here, I'm over in Windows. It's in the, I'm playing around with it. I just did the same command. Now I've done it over in Windows. Now the snipping tool is actually a Windows tool. It's not necessarily a tool that's an Office tool, but it is a Windows tool. So I went, how do I take a screenshot? It immediately opened up the snipping tool and had it ready for me to do the drag across the screen. And it gave me instructions on what it was doing and how I could do it myself if I wanted to. Okay. So that was just the difference that actually comes between where you are. So helping them know where they are and put it in context, because you're not going to ask to add a column or do something that's, formulas and they're over in PowerPoint, for example. Okay. You think that they won't do it, but they will. So go, hang on, where were you when you asked that question? It's a good one to come back with, especially for those that are on help desk. If they phone you and go, it's not working, I say, well, where did you ask it? Right. Now, not all Copilots are equal. So where did you actually go? Another one. So if we're talking about going online and we go type in and we're going Copilot and they go to log into copilot.microsoft.com. Now this is going to the more public, personal side of the Copilot. So I've got, logging me in as personal is a little different where I went, hang on a second, change over to my corporate ID. And when I did, it gave me the Copilot for copilot.microsoft.com. Hang on a second, that didn't look the same as when I was inside 365. If I've logged into Microsoft 365 and I've gone into my corporate account, what it's doing, so this is a little bit more like the Bing side. So this is your Bing side of chat over here. And then this is the Microsoft 365 chat. So if they're saying, I'm not seeing what you're seeing, well, double check, where did they actually go? So when you're inside chat, it will change. Make sure you're at the Microsoft365.com chat to get yourself started, okay, inside that enterprise environment. Now, when we're doing prompts, it's working alongside you. Now, it can be incorrect. As I said, if you've been working there for 20 years and you said, get me the sales data, and it's sales data from 20 years ago, one, check your facts, because it's going based on the knowledge that it's got access to. And depends on the knowledge that it has access to. Have your organization shut down certain information based on security and compliance? Or was that file locked because it's some privacy? Is it a highly secure document? It's not going to draw from it, for example. So check the facts and the information that it's dropped in, even when it's going out there to the World Wide Web. Okay, so check it, review it, modify, iterate. It still takes the human component. It's not an autopilot. Okay, so you really got to have a good look and a read, and is it relevant before you send it out? Did it change something it really shouldn't have? Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to go through all the Microsoft kind of prompting and everything. I've put it in the presentation for you so that you can come back and have a look. But there are lots, and there's a whole deck. You can see it out there online around use cases depending on the type of individual you are. Okay, business leaders, different types of prompts. There's all these different great scenarios. Put it into a scenario for your business. Let's dive into some of the demonstrations. Okay. So adoption side, we're getting into the training, providing information online, learning, getting into it. Now, building out. One of the great things that I love about that Copilot environment is there's the lab that gives you a ton of prompts. Whether you go through your Microsoft 365 chat, through the main Office interface, if you're going office.com, because a lot of people still just type office.com, okay, or you're coming through Teams. Now, when you come into Teams, there is a great prompt library. So let's go over, let's go, and we'll go online. Okay, not that one yet. Wrong one. Got lots open. So here we are. We're in chat. So what's new? Key information, draft a question. If you're not quite sure, you'll see view prompts. In here, I've got, do I want to do something that's catch up, create, ask? Now, the Copilot Lab will be dependent on where you go to actually ask the question. Because if I'm in PowerPoint, then it's going to ask and look at different types of help. So these are all the fun, what do I want to do? Or you can go to the Copilot Lab. And on the Copilot Lab itself, as part of signing me in to my environment, what are all the different types of prompts? Now I'm going a little further. So if you want to see all the prompts that are available out there that are just core getting yourself started, teach your users how to go in, how to have a look, what do you want to learn about? And there's all the different topics to get them started. So go and have a look at that sort of Copilot prompting. Let's move our way across. Let's go over. I'm going to go now over to Word. Down the bottom here. Okay. Copilot strategy. So here we go. I have a strategy. And I want to put in and just go, can you summarize my strategy? And I want to do a couple of fun things. So up the very top, here's my Copilot. Now, if you don't have a license, you're not going to see it there. Or maybe you've got other accounts. Just be careful of which account you're in. Otherwise, it will drop off the Copilot. Now, to get ourselves started, it's going to be really important that you've actually got this saved into a location that's cloud-based. It's got to be in your OneDrive or it's got to be SharePoint. Okay, so depending on what it is that you're going to do. So if I go in and I've got to summarize this document, I can just click on it. I've got different topics, change the topic. Here's my different prompts. I can have a look at it. Okay. View more, create, understand. They're listed out in here to make it easy. You've also got the microphone, so you could do it. And a lot of people work better in a conversation mode when they're using audio compared to typing. Often we try to limit down when we're typing. Whereas if we ask it a question, more often than not, we'll verbally much better at it, just so that you're aware. So if I just go summarize this doc. Now, when I say summarize this doc, it's going to do a really big summary. And even if I go make it shorter, it still doesn't really do it shorter. So I'm just clicking on it, make it shorter. So if I really want a good prompt, I can go instead and say something like make the summary shorter and only one paragraph. So it's making it shorter. Here it is. It's still got bullet points. It's too long. I literally just want a paragraph. I could copy and drop it in, but I don't want to do that. So if my prompt instead was make the summary short and only one paragraph, because it's already got the summary there, I can say that. So let's come in and you're going to, and am I locking up? Of course I'm locking up. Oh, we go. I'm playing around. Let's just go. There it is. Make it short, one paragraph. So now it's going to come up with something that's short, sharp, sweet, because what I want to do is put that into the very beginning of my long-term strategy as a long-term to enhance, diversify. I like it. Thank you very much. Copy, and I'll come over here and paste it in. And I'm just going to paste it in text only. Look, it's doing it based on my heading, maybe not. Okay. So I can then just go, hang on a second, that didn't do it in the same format as what it was down here. I could say, I want it to be, say, make sure it's all, for example. So I'll go, so make this document all in Times New Roman, or change it. You can put in different prompts. Now, if I, the type of words that I put in, like if I say new or sometimes draft, or if it's already doing it, then you don't need to put those words in, for example. Okay. Now, if it was something that it's not going to be able to do, you'll see here, it will give you the steps to be able to play around with it. Depends on where you are. You can in PowerPoint. So here I am. I have my long-term strategy and I'm coming down and I'm going, hang on a second, I haven't got anything at the very end. So I might ask it to do something like this. Just copy a prompt that I've been playing around with. So I want a formal closing paragraph and I want to thank the organization. So create a formal closing paragraph that thanks the organization for their hard work. Now, at first I said hard word, still looked at it. It still did it for me. It's like, oh, cool. So I thought, okay. It says the response isn't based on this particular document. However, it's giving me a really great little summary of something that I could potentially just go copy, paste, put it in. So I might want to make sure that I take out. This is where people still come in. Sincerest gratitude to the organisation for all their hard work. Appreciate the time you've taken. I could come back and have a play around with it if it was too smarmy or depends on what you want. How formal? Do you want it casual? So I can start to build and play around with this. Gives you a bit of an idea. So I go, right, I'm ready to go. That's a couple of quick, core, easy. What if I now go, I want to build out, I've got a presentation to the business and it's going to be based on my corporate strategy. So I could go over into PowerPoint. Let's go have a play over in PowerPoint. Get the right PowerPoint down the bottom here. Okay. Now, I have a template here and I could use, I could just go create new document based on a particular template. So I could go choose something, fun or funky and have it. Your template needs to be no more than 40 layouts. So your layouts, you need to be careful kind of how many layouts you got. It will only go up to 40. Okay. So if I say I now want to do Copilot and I want to build a presentation in here. So I'm over now in my PowerPoint. And I go, I want to create a presentation. Here's my prompts up the top. Same again. Now my prompt, you'll see here, it is across the whole suite up to 2,000 characters. Okay, so you've got to ask it within 2,000 characters. If you can't fit it in, just keep refining with the prompt. You can keep asking again and again of different things as you go. So I'm going to go create a presentation from a file. So it says, hang on, you need the link for the file of what you're going to work with. So if I just go back over to my corporate strategy, so I'll go share and I'm going to go copy a link to this document. Okay, so I've copied the link. Okay. Coming back. Now I could go, where's the file, and do file location. Okay. So create a presentation from this file, and then I'll go and make it no more than 20 pages, for example. So I'm giving it some parameters as well. Let's have a look. Let's see what it does. So what I particularly like is a lot of people aren't overly creative, or they really struggle with PowerPoint and making something that might even look decent. Any topic, I've done some fun ones. Create me a document based on making chocolate, tempering chocolate. I did one that was tempering chocolate. That's right, because I just had a bit of a play. It said, what were all the steps in tempering? And it just built this very cool presentation with pictures and the whole lot. Go and have a look, go play. So you may not be creative or innovative, but it will help you in that journey. So now it's generating slides. It went over, it had a look at the headings in my Word document. So maybe you want to make sure some of the things like your styles are correct, because it's going to pull from things like styles. So now it's generating my slides. Look, not all the pictures, it's going to pull from a repository that, of course, is when it comes to the pictures, is it allowed to use those particular pictures? You may not love the pictures, but there might be stuff that you go, I particularly like the way that it's come out. Maybe the bullet points, it's too long, or maybe there's an awful lot of handshake going on. Okay, investment in talent. I'm like, let's change this picture. Okay, change picture on slide 8 to, let's say, a group of young university students. Now, even if I had spelling mistakes, generally we should try and make sure it's clean, but it's pretty good. So now it'll go out and it'll go based on, can I use that, picture? And we'll drop in some photos for me. Or maybe you want to, summarize or have a conclusion page. Okay, so create a conclusion thank you page, and it'll just drop something in for me. Okay, so it's got just a conclusion page because it did it based on my document, but what might it generate for me? Let's have a look. You go, thank you for your time and attention. You might want to put a picture, so you can ask for a picture to be dropped into this particular page. Up to you. But what I love about this is it went out, it drew from the document. And not only that, but even though I didn't actually have all the information in, it's put it into the notes for me. So my document, although it's got the bullet points, I could literally read out from my Word document the things that give me the wording that I might have needed. I could have said, make this a lot shorter, make it that it's only 2 bullet points, for example, so I can limit it down. Have a bit of a play. So this is some of the fun stuff about, Copilot. But if I say I go change the font for, more often than not, actually, you know what? I much prefer to change the font, because it's like, for this presentation to Trebuchet MS, as an example. Let's go. So it will work its way right through the presentation. Well, more often than not, you've got a corporate template. So it will go through, and the font for this now has changed completely over to Trebuchet. Done it for me. Don't have to worry about trying to, and you see it all the time, people are highlighting and going up and choosing, do the drop down and going through it individually, or doing, their pasting. So they're doing pasting with the format painter and they're going through everything, or they may not know how to. If that didn't save you 5 minutes alone on making sure, if you've cut and paste from different presentations, I don't know what would. That's just one of the corker pieces. Right, so from there, let's go have a look at Excel. So if we go over now to Excel. Okay, so I've got here just some general profit figures, of which some of them aren't going particularly well. And I go into Copilot. Now it is in preview, so there is lots coming. Now it will automatically tell you that this is not in a table. You do need to have your data inside a table for it to actually be able to work with. Tables are fabulous in Excel. There's so much that you can do from a table. If you've not worked with tables before, I highly recommend learning how to work with tables in Excel. So the first thing that I want to do is convert it. Now that I've converted it, it says, okay, I can start to do things with you. So show suggestions for formula columns. Excellent. Let's bring up, what are some of the suggestions? What could it do? So if you're not sure, maybe you need to have your data, represented in different ways, you could start to. I could go, I want to have a column that gives me my totals, for example. So there you go, total sales. Thank you very much. Insert the column, literally just doing it for you. Hang on, how did it do that? Explain the formula. This is what I did, step by step. Nice. Okay, insert the column. My total sales are in. Okay. From here, a lot of the times I might go, let's see. If I do this, it's not going to work. Let me show you. So if I go add in a column with spark lines, remember the technology is always changing, but at the moment, I'm not going to get a trending spark line, but it will tell me how to do it. So this is where that value comes in. I can't do it. However, you can go to the insert tab. Righto, let's go do it. I can put in column here. I can go based on spark lines, my data range, and it's giving me explanations on how to do it. I just missed that bottom one. Very good. Thank you very much. And I have a little spark line. Okay. Now it's gone outside of my table. That's fine. Okay. So it gives me instructions on the type and the range. Done. Or I could go add in icon, arrow. Let's go arrow icons to my figures. Let's see, add in. So if someone doesn't know how to do conditional formatting, it says, I just want these in there. Bang, done for me. Thank you very much. It's done some conditional formatting. How are we going? And put them in. So quick, simple, easy. Now, as part of all of our, different ways, I could then go analyze my data. Let's go analyze. Almost there. So as it now starts to analyze, it's going to build things like tables. It's going to give me some comparison analysis. Can I see, other insights? Let's have a look. These are all, so New South Wales doing really well. Excellent news. So if I go add all insights to grid, what does it do? Now, there were other insights. So what are all the insights for my data? Done, built. If that doesn't convince you, it's like, cool. A lot of people don't know how to represent their information and they struggle with doing charts. So it's like, show me what's actually going on. It's got correlations. It's given me, and they may not even know how to do pivot tables. And they go, oh, cool. And I could start to adjust it and go, show me based on all my total sales, okay, in a little pivot table. Done. Easy. So from there, look, Excel, so many things that you can do, guys. We could be here and teach for days, hours, weeks, months. Let's go over. I'm going to go quickly to brainstorm. Okay, list the pros and cons of Copilot for Outlook desktop to web. Let's have a look. Because often might be blogging, and I kind of go, give me a starting point. Drop it in. Okay, so I can then copy pros and cons and get started. Nice, thank you. What about Outlook? benefits. So here we were, I did an email trial. This is with the Axiom IT team. We had a whole trial and I picked up an email and go, hang on a second, what was it? What did we cover off? I can just do a summary by Copilot. Okay. There's a quick summary of all the things that I've been chatting with the team about. Okay. Or I could even go reply. And as part of my reply with Copilot, it says I can draft with Copilot. And I can say, what do I want to say? Say thank you, and I'm looking forward to presenting. Generate. Now, before I go generate, do I want it formal? Do I want it casual? How long? How short? Make it a poem. So I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to make it fairly casual, but I'm going to do a nice long one saying, this is really cool. Looking forward to it. Now, it will do long too, and depends on how long you want to go and depends on how much you've put in there as your prompt. Now, I'm keeping the prompt short and sharp because we're out of time. Okay. So building out the prompt, and this is where you still have to come into play, because if it doesn't seem like it's in your voice, you go, oh, I'd never say that. You might go through, you're very welcome. See, you can mention the previous email. This was the information. Now it's pulling information based on the questions that I was asked. What do you want to put in here? And this is what I would like. Other than that, I think doing really well. Fantastic job. Let me know if there's anything else I can do for the webinar. Brilliant. Thanks very much. Would you like to change? Maybe shorten it if you wanted to, or I need it more formal, or just make it one paragraph. Limit it, take it out, bigger, longer, include. Okay, or even regenerate it. Excellent. Maybe you're not sure, you can do some coaching. So Copilot actually has some coaching. It will go through if you're saying something that's particularly abrupt, it will go, hang on a second, you might want to soften your tone or language. So it will go through and analyze and have a look at it. Now, that is particularly great because sometimes I can be way too formal. It's courteous. Now, of course, he created it saying it's nice and courteous. Thanks very much. But maybe it's not. Maybe you'll find that your style of writing is not great, or you really struggle with it, or you think, oh, I'm being a bit mean here. I'm not very happy about what they've done, but I need to tone it down. Sometimes I get that where you kind of go, oh, and you go, I need to sit on that for 24 hours before I send it. Now go clean it up. Thanks very much. Okay. Now,
Kirsty,
what about?
can I just jump in quickly here? So, the one thing I've noticed myself here is that the more you use this in Outlook, it does start to recognize your tone and the way that you communicate more and more.
That's it, because it's got the graph. It's got the graph, so it's a learning tool.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand, like, if the first time you use this, it generally is not, in my experience anyway, I wouldn't say it was spot on, but over time I've had to give less feedback.
Yeah. Actually, can we now, I'm going to get you, let's show Copilot inside Teams. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to get Tas to share his screen, and let's have a look at in here. This is a big topic. Sorry, we're going a little over. My apologies. I'm having fun. I'm having too much fun with the demos. My fault. You've got to run. The recording will be there.
Are we recapping?
Okay. Yes. So what I want you to do is you can see Tas's screen now. So you've got Copilot open. So I would like you to just do a summary of this or a recap of this meeting. So do a recap. So anyone can come into the meeting. And even if it's not actually being recorded, you could turn transcript off. It does have a temporary kind of repository when it comes to keeping the information to be able to do a summary of the meeting as a bit of a catch up. Now, that is dropped the moment you leave the meeting. So it doesn't retain anything, just so that you're aware. So now what we're seeing is Tas has got that great summary of what it is that I've been talking about throughout the session. Awesome. Can you also please, because I want to be able to make sure that I get back with information, I want to send out the presentation, I want to make sure people have got the QR code and that everyone gets lovely to have you here and engaged, and please fill out the survey at the end. Now, can you go add action items? Giving it a few action items with that. So you want to go, please provide me with any action items. You might find it's there even with just your little link.
I've hit the list action item. So this
List
one I've
action
been
items?
using, I use this in every meeting now because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm terrible at writing things down. So
Yeah. Yeah.
for me, that's a game changer.
Absolutely. And this is where that personal safety and security comes in, that you can sit there, you can listen, and you know that it's actually helping you. Okay, so that's what I love. Now I want you to just type in for me. Can you, I want to create an email to send to participants with a summary of the meeting and any action items. So now what it's doing is it's going out, it's having a look, it will come back with, it might be somewhat lengthy, especially if you've had a really big meeting. I mean, we've had 1 hour, so it will take those bullet points from above. If you didn't like them as bullet points, you could have asked it to put it into a paragraph. Personally, it's a little easier off the back of a meeting if it is in bullet points, hence why it does do that. But it will actually generate that information. There it is. You've got the copy button, and you can copy and paste that over into Outlook.
Yeah, wonderful.
That is just, for me, these are the things that are game changers. So when you talk about the benefits, massive benefit. And look, you can add in more, you can reduce it down, you can build upon it, you can, whatever it is that you need, you can sort of drive forward with some of that content. So let's come back. Yep.
I was just going to say, Kirsty, I mean, the thing that I've found with it so far is it's just there's a lot of 1%ers, I would say, that when over time and as they start to stack up, the productivity gain really kind of grows exponentially.
Yep. That's right. Absolutely. And, and this information I've got in there's little videos and short clips in the presentation as well to be able to help you to repeat some of the things that I've actually been doing along the way. A lot of people will ask me, should I use Premium or Copilot? Look, they do different things. Okay. So Copilot, it's on demand, it's contextual, it's then and there. Okay. It will look at past information. Teams Premium will actually build those bullet point action items. They will actually drop it in. It'll be in Loop and it'll connect to Planner, for example. So it's actually building actionable. Whereas this is kind of just words rather than full on actionable with reminders and all sorts of stuff around dates and times. It just works a little differently in the way that it'll bring it together. Okay. Now, the last thing is impact. So analysis. One of the great things is there is some standard reporting that comes with Copilot in the admin center so that you can come back in and have a look. You can buy Viva Insights and it will go so much further. Those insights that come through right into Windows 11, and you could actually have it helping you by sending off things like, messages to help your users on the journey if you find that they're not doing something in particular. Ultimately, if you can search and find it in your tenant, Copilot can use it. So always a good idea to start with some security and compliance. If you're 10 people in an organization, everyone's got access to everything anyway, no, you probably won't think about it so much. Okay, 10, 20, even up to 50. But it's always a good idea to have a look, because if it is pulling something, then you might want a potential reporting process. And that reporting process could be just report a breach. I'm seeing something that I shouldn't. I've just created a Microsoft form. It's a really basic form. Date of the breach, who's your name, explain it, where was it that if you're going to see it and you want us to follow up with you, you might want to, and I've put a link so you can copy this form, really basic. You can put it in your own environment. You might want to add in a field that says, because you need it for internal screenshots, so you can upload a file as well. And then I've also turned it on so that you get an email if it gets submitted, and then who's monitoring that process to make sure that they're following up. Good thing to do. Now, can Copilot look at password protected documents? No, but if they're already open, it will draw from it. So there's lots of places that you can find information. Microsoft have a fabulous adoption site for you to be able to go to. Go in there. It's got all the readiness. It's got planning. It's got guides. It's got the persona kit. There's a whole adoption kit around the user experience. There's even, as part of the Copilot page, when you go in, there's a download the Copilot onboarding kit. So you've got emails that you can send out each week to be able to help people on that learning journey. So go in, set up your 7 week, each week, send something out, or maybe it's one a day, but okay, you can actually drive it out. So that information is in there. Yep.
I was just going to say, Kirsty, for all the Axiom Cloud people, we use an online learning platform called Quick Help, and Quick Help have actually released some material now around Copilot too. So for the people who are actively using Quick Help, or maybe they're not and they want to, we can help with that, obviously. But there is material in Quick Help too, which is a little bit more simplified, I suppose. The Microsoft stuff is good, but it tends to be there's a lot in there.
Yep. There's so often some great information. Look, I've put in links to lots of really cool places that you can go, even some of the FAQs. Go and have a look at the blogs and information and the learning and some of the different technology and how you can actually use it. But ultimately, like all things with adoption, really the true power lies with you. Not the technology. The technology is great. The technology is constantly changing. It is learning your habits and patterns and information. But it's up to you to go on this journey and to help your users start from the individual and work your way from the individual learning to then the team, to then moving into the organization as part of how you could work with this. Don't forget, we've got Adam coming. Here's the QR code if you would like to join us next month and actually hear from Adam about, what did it look like, adoption and governance and the process systems and set in place to go on this journey. And if you need to, please feel free to reach out to me at any point. Let's come back to some of these questions. I'm more than happy to hang around. If you're happy to hang around, I'm happy to hang around as long as we need to. So let's, Tas, what have we got in particular?
Just quickly, Kirsty, I want to touch on the licensing quickly as well, because I think that was a bit confusing for people. So
yes,
the licensing for Copilot, it requires a base license in order to purchase the Copilot add-on license. I just want to make that really clear. So the base license requirement, if you are on Axiom Cloud, that's already covered, but you do have to purchase the Copilot license in addition to that in order to be able to use what you've seen today. The pricing for that I've got up on the screen there now. It is an annual payment, has to be paid up front, so it's not a monthly thing, which is a bit different to how Microsoft have licensed in the past. So just be aware of that. And you don't have to license it for every user in the organization. So generally, probably, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Kirsty, but I tend to say to people it's better to start with a handful as I guess the pioneers in the organization, and
who are
then
your change champions? Go out, find out who's really, in and using lots of the different tech. Start from those guys so that they can do a learning process. Because identify them.
Yeah. But yeah, if you've got any questions about licensing, just get in touch with me or the help desk or whoever you want to speak to. But yeah, we can sort that out, no problem.
Yeah.
So that was all on the licensing. I just ask if people are happy to provide feedback. You scan the QR code, or there's a link there. We might drop that link in the Q&A as well if people want it. That will just help us understand what you liked, what you didn't like. In addition to that, we are planning to run some more webinars this year around topics that are of interest to you. So again, on that feedback form, if you can indicate what sort of things you'd like us to present on, we'll go ahead and make that happen for you.
Yeah. Yep. And I see some questions in here. Can you create a series of templates in Outlook and save to Copilot? And you can select templates in Copilot. No, it's not actually designed to be able to do that. Like it's going to draw from template. Like if you open up a particular template that you've got saved in Outlook, for example, and you go into it and then put information into that template, that's a little different, but it's not about saving into Copilot. Mind you, there is, who knows, because there's lots of stuff around dev that's coming into play. So I, would say that now, but, there could potentially be, I'm not sure though, around Outlook. The other thing with Outlook is you need to use the new Outlook and the new Teams. Mind you, the classic Teams finishes end of March. So if you're not of classic Teams and you haven't brought your organization on that journey, really important that you get them over to the new Teams. And as part of that new Teams, it's going to be embedded in there. Inside Teams, the other core component inside Teams, once you get in, which we let me come back here. The Copilot inside Teams is chat, so it sits under chat. So I could just go, you know, give me all my documents I've created this month. So that's searching. It will literally go out, search, bring back information for me, including the actual documents themselves. It's going to drop them all in. You know, there's so many ways that you can come at this. So it does need, though, as you'll see, this is the new Teams. I was using the new Outlook. So here's all the documents. You kind of go, well, that is great, but I need more than that. So here's anything in here. But, you know, what else do I want? Hang on, 10 references. That would be cool. And there's my documents. So if I want to find them again, they're all there. Okay?
Yeah, I found the Copilot chat in Teams for me is probably the main entry point. Like
Yes,
where
absolutely.
previously I was opening ChatGPT in a browser, I'm now using this instead.
Directly in Teams. I love it. Absolutely love it. I mean, you can go through office.com, but or your Microsoft .com environment, but Copilot through chat is where I've deleted all of my Copilot chats, so it's not there. But this is where I go first and foremost, really, across a lot of it, without a doubt. But you know, you do have to use the new. You absolutely have to use the new as part of that work. Okay.
Yeah, I think the new Teams is not such a challenge for people. I find that the new Outlook tends to be a point of like it's a contentious point for a lot of people who are very comfortable in the old Outlook. So it's going to be interesting to see how people deal with that. But the other thing too, Kirsty, I thought it was worthwhile mentioning. So the Copilot is a product just like any other product in the Microsoft ecosystem, and it is going to continue to evolve. So while it might not be able to create templates today, it would be surprising to me if in 6 months' time, you know, it could. I would be surprised if it couldn't in say 6 months' time. Like the functionality will just continue to improve over time.
It will. And we're seeing it move really fast. There's a couple of questions that, you know, is there a timeline for the new Outlook to be released? Look, the new Outlook is released, but I can't say I'm a massive fan of it yet. There's still lots and lots to be rolled out. It's still in early days. So it's in preview. It's pushed out there to be able to work with. Your organization may not have rolled out the new Outlook. And if that's the case, go online. Just go to Microsoft.com online, because if you've got Copilot, you can do it through your online environment. Okay, so if you don't have it on the desktop, just use your online. I love it. It's great. It's all there for you to be able to work with. Go to your Outlook, .com inside your 365 environment, and go use it there. Now, in time, the Monarch, we call it the Outlook, the Monarch version, will get a lot more features and functionality pushing through to it, and your organization will then, open it up. But it is still early days. Okay.
Kirsty, so just another question. Someone's asked if it can be used in Photoshop or InDesign. I think the answer to that would be no at the moment.
No, they're not actually Microsoft products. So they're the Adobe products. But what you could do is in Copilot, and as part of I use it on my mobile phone. I particularly love, I can use the Swift keyboard, which is the Microsoft keyboard with Swift, and it's actually got Copilot. You've got the Copilot app as well. It's free. And on my keyboard, I will be creating, generating all sorts of really cool pictures and photos, and doing it through there, or you could use Copilot to start creating. So, or over in PowerPoint, there's lots of things that you can actually do inside these apps, but no, it's not over there yet. Jeremy's also asked about using the Planner to track tasks and things like that. No, that's actually, you could copy and paste those tasks into Planner, but if you want that functionality, that is Teams Premium. I would highly recommend you get the Teams Premium license.
What else? Teams Premium will push the action items into a planner board, or to do. Oh, okay.
Yes. It automatically creates a loop, and as part of Loop, the new feature with Loop, you can then push it into and create it, and it goes through into Planner. So that's all new features that are flowing through now.
Gotcha.
Okay, the Teams Premium.
And then Leah's got a question. Oh, sorry to cut you off, Kirsty.
No, you're right.
Leah's got a question here saying the question says, when you say it learns from you, is it that is that only if you correct content it generates, or is it watching everything you write and learning from that?
Okay, so it's actually looking at everything that's created. So as you create it and it's then saved, like in email and you're sending it out, or documents that you've got, it's looking at your style of the way that you actually work and the type of tone that you generally use, and that's what it's drawing from. So it's not looking at everything that as you typed it in as such, it's not Big Brother watching you. It's you've got content that's static, that's sitting there, and it's drawing from that content.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
so what else
I
have we
think we've
got?
covered them all. If anyone's got any
Have a look.
additional questions, feel free to drop them in.
Just having a look through. Nothing else yet. Please feel free, if you wish to, you can always raise your hand, and I'm more than happy for you to come off mute and I can answer questions along the way.
All right, while we're waiting for people to do that, I'll just thank you again.
Do you want to put up
Kirsty.
the feedback? You can always put the feedback form back up for people.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you, Kirsty, for being with us today and presenting. Hope everyone found that useful. And yeah, please submit the feedback form and let us know how we can improve for next time. And also want to thank Sarah. She's organised this whole thing.
Thank you, Sarah.
Been tremendously helpful. And I think I would say it's been a big success. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you coming along and staying a little longer as we float over.
Perfect. All right. I don't think we've got any questions, so I think we can wrap it up.
I think there's anything more. No? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate you coming.
Have a great afternoon.